Well, thank you, Ron. What a great afternoon. Incredible double eagles you heard. And now you've got the newest diamond, the newest founder's diamond. As Ron mentioned, they're going to speak about the framework and the mindset of putting this business together. And they've done an incredible, incredible job. So take great notes, listen up, and please help me welcome Dean and Marcy Whalen.
Thank you.
Hi, guys.
Thank you for last night. That was just incredible. I have to tell you a really cute story to start off. I had to wake up Isabel this morning because she was so tired, obviously, from last night, to come to church. And so I went in and woke her up, and she kind of opened her eyes, and she kind of looked around. And I'm not joking. The very first thing she says is, "Yay, Mommy, Daddy!" And it was like she was still in last night, just in celebration mode. So that was so cool, and I'm just so excited to do that again next year with whoever number 52 is. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to be awesome.
52 is the number.
52.
And I know there's going to be a lot more after that. So thank you, guys. We are honored to be up here and to share with you guys. I just want to kind of give you a bit of a lay of the land before we get going. We're not here to teach you how to build the business. We've been asked if we could share with you how we've built the business. And so we're going to do that, and it's an honor to be able to do that. But I just please make sure you're learning how to build the business from your upline diamond, likely, in your line of sponsorship and mentorship, as we did. And a lot of the things we're going to share today, we learned through our line of mentorship, and we have applied it. But we also, Marcy and I, over the last number of years, have done. As free people, you're together all the time, and you talk about a lot of things, and we talk a lot about our leaders and our business kids and how we can get better. And we've discussed a lot about how we can become better leaders, how we can lead people better, and so that'll be intertwined and interlaced into what we talk about today as well. I just encourage you, don't expect to learn how to go around the world with a backpack. This is just going to be some basic stuff that we'll talk about today, and Leslie mentioned framework and mindset. We believe those two things are very, very important, because we use a framework to accomplish the right mindset. And our belief is that if you have a framework as to how you prepare someone for business ownership, whether they qualify or do not, fantastic. But if you have a framework without a mindset, you're going to become legalistic. And if you have the mindset without the framework, I don't believe it's teachable. And we're very passionate about being able to teach people how to properly prepare someone and help them develop the right mindset, and really to see if they do have the right mindset. And so we've learned a lot from our mentors. For the purpose of this talk, we're going to try and keep it as generic as we can, just for the benefit of all of you. But yeah, that's kind of a lay of the land for you. I know if Marcy and I were not presented this opportunity from the perspective of having to earn mentorship, we wouldn't have been put in the right. Our mindset wouldn't have been in the right place to treat this business like a multi-million-dollar business, which is what this business can give to you. You can become a millionaire. If you treat this business casually, I believe you will become a casualty in this business. And we weren't interested in that. We wanted to earn a spot on a team. Who here would rather earn a spot on a team and try out for an elite? Would you rather try out for an elite team than walk onto a recreational team? Yeah. That to me is a sign of a winner. I think if you're looking to walk onto a recreational team where there's no standards, then you probably, you'll wither on the vine, and you'll be gone as quickly as you were there. And I don't think that's the goal of anybody here. When I played basketball, there was a high standard, and there is a program on the team that we were on. And if you didn't like the program, well, tough luck. Then this isn't the team for you. Kind of was the mindset when the level of basketball I played. And so we were excited about that. I don't play basketball anymore. People go, "Do you play basketball?" And I go, "Well, no. Why would I play basketball at this level and then play at this level? Why would I downgrade? I have no interest." Like I said last night, and I did not finish the thought, is that I think a lot of times when you learn and you become successful in one arena, you think that's the arena you're supposed to, kind of be in. Whereas I believe sometimes you maybe become successful in one arena, and it's a stepping stone for you to apply that mindset in another arena that supersedes the results in the previous arena. Make sense? And that's what we look at this arena as. I'm not going to go down and play recreational basketball because the mindset there is, well, you can't dunk. You just ruptured your Achilles tendon, so why don't we lower the hoops to 8 feet for you to compensate? And you show up to these things and you see people in flip-flops and in jeans, and it's just not serious, and I'm not interested in that. This business filled any gaps basketball left, and some. It overfloweth. When you get into this business and that you win a championship through this business, it's so much greater than any championship you'll win on a sports team.
So I just want to share a story to illustrate the, attitude and mindset that we believe you should have and that we have when we're out there sitting down with people to really just, take a look at whether they're ready for business ownership, whether they're ready to take on that 2 to 5 year building an asset mindset. And I read an interview with Joss Whedon, who he directed the Avengers movie, and he's done a lot of cool things. But one of the very first successful projects he did for Hollywood was a TV show called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And when he was pitching the TV show to TV executives, he came in to each pitch with an extreme sense of conviction and confidence because when he first came to Hollywood, the advice he got was to, bank your paycheck, so you're never a desperate working artist. And so he came into those meetings with money in his bank so that if they wanted to change his creative vision, he could say, you know what, no thanks. And he said something that I thought was so key and really struck me as applicable to our business. He said, I never wanted to go into a room and sit down at a table that I couldn't walk away from. And I think that's so powerful for us because you should never go into a coffee shop or someone's living room or anywhere to sit down with somebody and talk about this business that you can't walk away from. You're not desperate. We're not here to convince people. I'd way rather run hard with 1 than drag 100. And so we just want to, share with you the framework we've created to identify whether somebody's ready to run. And we're just going to go through kind of what that looks like.
You guys all have the opportunity. Anyone you sit down with doesn't have the opportunity. And so you're the one in control. We believe we're the buyers, they're the sellers. And we try and position ourselves so they realize very quickly that they're going to have to convince us why we should work with them. This is the A game. This attracts A players. And sometimes we have a B player mindset when we first start to learn about this opportunity. But there's people that want to develop an A player mindset, or maybe they forgot they were an A player because they've been in a B game for a long time. And you start to metamorphosize and you start to chameleonize and take on the persona of the people that you're around. And that's why association is the most powerful thing you can have in your life is because you're going to become who you associate with. And so when we talk about this process, if you can try and comb out the mindset, not necessarily what we do, but why are we doing what we're doing? What are we trying to accomplish here? And through this framework, and by the end, have we accomplished it? And if not, then maybe there's a better fit for them as a customer or something different. And some of the things we look for when we sit down with someone is, can we build a friendship and trust over a period of time with them? Today's day and age, I'm sure you would agree that when you meet someone that's a stranger that there's no previous relationship, you are guilty until you prove yourself innocent. Both ways. 30 years ago, a handshake represented, I come unarmed. And you were innocent until you proved yourself guilty. And so we battle with that today. That's a big battle that we see, that when we're out sitting down with people and trying to build that friendship and trust, and we want to be able to overcome that. And we want to educate them and prepare them through that process to see if there is a fit for partnership and business ownership, and for us to mentor them and take them under our wing, just like our mentors did with us. And they put up with a lot of crap. If we weren't willing to change, and if we weren't willing to be mentored in how we made decisions, we wouldn't be here today. We just shut our brains off, and we learned to use the brains of people that have either mastered the entrepreneurial way of thinking or are on their way to mastering it. which means they become professional problem solvers. We were amateur problem solvers at best when we saw this business, and that's the main difference I see between the employee mindset and the entrepreneurial mindset, is that employees don't know how to solution seek. They come up with one obstacle, and that's their excuse to just stay stationary. And that brain will keep them that way, and unless they learn how to grab onto someone else's mind that's on that path to mastering that entrepreneurial way of thinking and learning how to solution seek, then they don't typically make it. And so we look for that through a process. We look to see if we can educate them. Can we prepare them? Are there red flags throughout that process, or is it all green flags? How serious are they taking this process? And if it's not that serious at points in that process, then we stop the process and we address it. And we talk to them about that. Our whole goal is to see if we can get their mindset to just a basic level where once they're in business, that mindset will lead to success. People, if they're prepared for success and there's no surprises once they get into business, what we've seen is that the trust in that relationship goes through the roof. We've also seen the opposite. If we miss some things through the process and then they get into business and there's something that comes up that we didn't discuss in the process, trust gets breached. And we don't want that to happen. We want to be the best we can be for other people. Are they accountable through that process? Are they demonstrating that they're teachable? I believe the process reveals whether someone will make emotional decisions or educated ones. It reveals if they know who to take advice from. When Marcy and I saw this opportunity, I mean, all of you know our parents are in the audience tonight, but we didn't go, well, let's go see what our parents think. There's so many people today that their mindset is, well, I need to honor my parents. And I agree with that, but the way that they think they're honoring their parents is by taking advice from them or whoever, relatives, friends, taking advice from people that don't actually have fruit on the tree in the area that they're giving advice on. And we just realized, well, we have to take advice from people. If we want to be financially independent, then we have to go talk to people that are financially independent. And I didn't know Mike and Brandy. Marcy knew them, but I didn't know them, who personally sponsored us. But I realized they were half the couple was financially free. And even if neither one of them were, it didn't matter. They're on the path to being financially free. Their mentors are financially free. And so we had to get in their back pocket. We had to understand what they knew. And we had to understand taking advice from people that have a financial vested interest instead of an emotional vested interest. Because I believe you honor your parents by giving your parents' grandkids a better life than you or your parents ever had. Which means you have to take advice from people outside your family tree. The process also reveals whether or not, they consult with their alternatives. What happens if they don't build this business? Do they consult with that, or do they go back to their old habits of consulting with their comfort zone? There's no room for a comfort zone when it comes to creating success. And, do they create a case throughout that process for us to want to work with them? Can they give us confidence to want to give 2 to 5 years of our life to help them? That is so key. Is there truly a need for an opportunity in their life? Truly, not just verbally. Is there truly a need? Do they truly have the mindset that it's going to be required of them to go create success? Or are they willing to develop that mindset? And like I said, are they willing to be mentored in how they make decisions?
And so what this looks like, I guess, and it's not that Dean and I view this as step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. We have organized our, steps into a series that makes it easy to know where the next step is and where we're going with someone, because previously when we were building the business, we felt like we just didn't really know what the next step was, and we were spinning our tires, and we just didn't really understand how to best lead somebody. And so the process is essentially a meet and greet, which we start off with. And a meet and greet is simply coffee. We don't drink coffee, but we're in a coffee shop, and we're getting to know somebody. We're building that relationship, like Dean said. With our dynamic, obviously you're going to have to figure out yours, because it could be very different. I'm more of the connector. I'm more of the relationship builder. So I'm going to spend some time getting to know them. I'm going to spend some time asking about where they grew up and their family. What do they do for work? And I'm going to try to, find something to relate to them on, whether it's their love of sports or their children or who knows what. And Dean will contribute here and there. And he's awesome. he'll be involved in the conversation as well, and then we kind of get into telling our story, and we kind of go back and forth like we are today, just communicating how we saw this business, the impact that mentorship has had in our life, and just how we were able to make great decisions based on the people we knew and them having the biggest influence in our life, to the point now where we're both financially independent, full-time parents, and looking to invest in others that want the same things. We're looking for A players that are stuck in B games. And it takes about an hour, 45 minutes an hour. And our whole goal is just to really kind of build that bridge, that first bridge with them in building a strong friendship and a relationship.
And we'll share with them, when we sit down with them initially. And the reason we don't bring anything in is because I don't want them thinking I'm there to sell them on anything. I've found for myself that if I brought something in, that I might show them something, that they think I'm there to sell them on something. And if they need to be sold on why a 2 to 5 year plan is better than a 40-year plan, well, they probably need some neurosurgery, and I can't help them with that. So I don't want them even thinking that for a second. And so when we sit down, we ask them, I usually just sit down if it's just me and or if it's both of us, just go, so what's your story? So fill me in again on what you were telling me the other day when we met, and get to know them, form family, occupation, recreation, motivation that may lead to a message. Maybe the message already been dropped to even lead to that meeting. And so, we get to know them. They usually don't have people skills developed to the point where they'll ask us about ourselves. So when they're done telling us about them, we just take the time to reroute it and kind of share with them, hey, let me share with you our story and where we were and where we are now and who we met along the way and the twist of fate that happened and where we're going. And so we'll share that with them and we'll build into that. We'll go, let me tell you, we'll talk about the people we met. We'll talk about, let me tell you what some of the things they said to us. We had a chance to sit down with them and I was on a path to go play basketball, but we rerouted it and your story will be your story, obviously. And we had a chance to sit down, and and some of the things maybe we said to them was, tell me about your company. Like, what do you do? And they kind of looked at us and said, well, Dean and Marcy, you guys, what do you know about the fundamentals of how to create wealth? And we kind of started talking, and they said, well, we're going to stop you right there. You guys, if you knew how to create wealth, you would have done it already. It takes 2 to 5 years to create wealth, and so we kind of realized very quickly we're not an authority on the subject, and it's time for us to kind of close our mouth and maybe open up our ears to some people that have some fruit on the tree that have done things a little bit differently. And we realized very quickly that we weren't going to be the ones being sold on something. We were going to be the ones having to sell them why they should work with us. And so what we're trying to do is set the stage for who we're sitting down with through our story as to the journey we went through to help them understand is going to be similar for them. And to teach them kind of how to think. Marcy talked about how she was worried about what people think last night. As a leader, you have to realize you're not here to be worried about what people think. You're here to teach people how to think because they don't know how. The systems we grow up in have not taught us how to think. It's taught us how to be very much skeptical of ourselves. When I talk about how people don't know who to take advice from. Well, the only reason the only reason we would take advice from someone who has no fruit on the tree and has not even seen what we've seen is because we don't trust ourselves. That's where the whole term skepticism comes from. We're not skeptical of a business. People are skeptical of their own ability to evaluate other people as whether they're good or they're bad, and to evaluate a business model as to whether it's good or bad. You think about it, all you have to do is go to the Better Business Bureau and type in Amway, and it has an A+ rating. Isn't it fascinating how very few people even know that's what they're supposed to do? And isn't it fascinating how even if they do that, they go, well, I don't know. The Better Business Bureau said A+, but this is what my friend said. Like, we don't realize what's credible and what's not.
We also spend a lot of time talking about their why. Why would you even want to get information on a business opportunity? Why would you want, it seems like a silly question. Why would you want more success and abundance in your life? But you'd be shocked how many people don't even know how to answer that. And we'll share some of our reasons for building this business. We'll talk about how, we just wanted to get out of debt. We were running from the nightmare in a lot of ways at first. Then once we saw that you could have stability and we were surviving, then we started to have dreams of traveling the world and being full-time parents and being able to take care of our parents and send them on trips. shopping without worrying about the price tag, getting groceries and not, having to look at every sticker price. Just, little things and big things. Having a jet. Dean and I want a jet one day. And depending on what we're getting back from them, we're going to connect more on what their dream might be. And really establishing their vision and their desire and their why. Because if later on in the process they start coming back at us with wimpiness, we can say, well, wait a minute. What about when we talked about in your first meeting how much you wanted to be home with your kids? What happened to that? Is that not true anymore? And it is true, but they just are letting these silly other little things get in the way of what their vision is. And our job is to lead them through that and to hopefully get them out of their own way. I was in my own way, and helping them, like Dean said, learn how to think.
We teach people in our organization, the leaders that we have, that we're blessed to work with and have a chance to mentor. We teach them that the key is not necessarily that what you're asking them, it's that you are asking them something. We'll share with you guys today, just like we've shared with them, some of the questions we ask. The key is not the questions we ask. The key is, are you developing the right dynamic so that you're the authority and not them? Are you taking the time to even ask questions? And so, just a couple other examples of what, we may share with someone that we're sitting down with is that, when we met the people we met, they took the time to kind of ask us, do you want to be financially independent? And we said, of course, and they said, well, why do you have a job? We think you guys are great. We like you guys. We'd like to build a friendship with you, but I got to be honest with you, we don't really, we're kind of leery of people that have jobs, because let me tell you what my experience is. Most people with jobs are skeptical of everything. They think everything outside of a job is a pyramid, but if you ask them to define a pyramid, they end up defining a job and they put their foot in their mouth and then they run away with their tail between their legs. They think they know everything and aren't willing to change. They're typically unaccountable. They are impatient and they won't take the time required to learn how to create financial freedom. They need the approval of everyone around them, and status is more important to them than building a future for themselves. So, Dean and Marcy, if that's you guys, nice to meet you, but we don't really want to get started with you. But if it's not, we'd love to get to know you better. And I'll share with them maybe how we should have responded to that. And we share that, hey, we told them we want to understand how to create financial freedom and financial independence. And so we're teaching people how to think throughout these meetings and throughout this first meeting. And I like to kind of build in every single objection in the book into that last one that I just shared with you, because I know right now that it's everything that they're thinking. And so let's help them drive that way of thinking out. Because if we can bring it up first, then they're not going to bring it up. And we remain the authority on that subject. And typically coming out of that meeting, we'll have built a bit of a friendship. Obviously not an immense one, but at least the beginnings of one. And we have them read the book. We like to have them read the book, The Business of the 21st Century, so that they get educated on fundamentals. And I explained to them, when we read this book, it takes most people 2 to 3 days, but I read it in one night, and I am not a fast reader. And I read that thing in one night because I couldn't put it down, because it brought to life on paper everything that I had been thinking my whole life, but nobody ever voiced it. And I think you'll probably have that same experience. And this book, how you respond to this book, is going to tell me a lot about you and where your mindset's at, and where we even go in the next meeting that we get together with you. And I want you to understand a couple things here. I want you to understand the 4 different quadrants of how to make money. You're going to realize there's more ways to make money other than trading time for money. And this book will break that down. I want you to understand how entrepreneurs approach things and how they think about things. And this book will give you a foundation and a framework to give us confidence when we sit down the next time that you're ready for details. We can't talk about details of an opportunity until you understand fundamentals of how to create wealth. We can't talk about calculus if you don't know how to just do basic addition and subtraction. We need to be able to develop a foundation first. And so I'll go, here's the book, and we'll book something 2-3 days later. And if they haven't read the book when we get back, we don't do the meeting. What a way to discredit everything we just did. But you know what? They've pretty much always read the book.
We have found for ourselves that 2 meetings is necessary before they see a board plan or a BOV or something, because we would do 1 meeting and then have them come to a board plan, and almost every time, well, not every time, but most of the time we got no-showed. And we were getting frustrated and thinking, what are we doing wrong? Why can't we get anybody to a plan? And for us, we just realized, you know what, the trust just wasn't there. Because I think the reason we get no-showed is we've either had terrible posture and they think it's some casual thing that they can just, come or not come, or they just don't trust us enough. They don't trust us enough to come and to be educated. And so we find that those two meet and greets are really crucial in just our retention rate of getting someone to a board plan. And I would say we never get no-showed now. It's very rare for us to get no-showed because we can prepare people so well by doing 2 meetings. You may find differently, but for us, this is what we've found to work.
And so we'll sit back down for that second meeting, and we small talk for a bit maybe, and then we'll just ask them if they got through the book, and they typically have. The odd time, the book we found does the work for us, because they can take some material home with them, 2 to 3 hours of indulging into a new way of thinking versus half an hour with us, and their walls are still up because they don't know how to trust themselves yet through that skepticism, example I was talking about earlier. And so when we sit back down, they've gone through the book, and we'll go, that's awesome, because this book I gave to you for 2 reasons. One of the reasons was for you to get the information, but it was a test, and we wanted to see that you would make time to read the book. Success is not built on convenience, it's built on inconvenience, and it's about learning how to make time. You didn't have 40 hours a week when you got your job, you made time for it. And so we look for you to be able to make time to go through that book, which is awesome. You did make time, and it communicates a lot to us, and so we're excited to sit down with you today and kind of share with you a bit about what we do, and then we'll do that. And I call the second meeting is where we STP, which is show the plan, show the process, help them understand where they're at in that process, where they might have to get to for us to consider maybe, giving them sponsorship. And we explain to them that they have to receive sponsorship. This isn't something they can just do. They have to receive sponsorship from someone who's willing to help them, who's willing to take their time and money and energy and resources to serve them just like we were served. And so we'll go through that second meeting, and I like to just draw out kind of the napkin thing and the napkin plan, and from there kind of draw out how duplication works. And I'll tie it back to what they learned in the book. I'll kind of review that, there's ES, BI, and the key is not the book. The key is that you have something to give to them, something for them to go through. We've just found that book does a great job for the fundamentals of people learning, just how do you even think like an entrepreneur. And then when they come back, we can talk about the employee, the self-employed, the big business, the investing, and we can kind of, we're on the same page now. You can't take someone to higher ground unless you meet them at common ground. And so now that we're on common ground together, we can try and take them to higher ground, and we'll talk about it, and I'll help them understand that you realize that this is the B quadrant, and you're used to the E or the S quadrant. A lot of people, when we sit down with people, a lot of them are self-employed, and they think like a big business owner, but they don't. They own a job. They may own a company based on what the government says, but the company owns them, and no one talks about that. So they have no time. Everyone on the left side of the quadrant is time broke, and most of them are money broke. And if you want to have both, you've got to get to the B quadrant. And we'll talk about there's 2 different ways to duplicate yourself. You can do it traditionally through, a business owner duplicating through employees, which is a traditional business. And for every business owner, how many employees does it breed? Right? For every business owner, how many non-business owners are part of that person's company? And when you have 500 people in your organization, you're a big business. And then we'll talk about duplicating through other business owners, which is what we do. And the difference in traditional business and non-traditional business, and in an information age business such as ours versus an industrial age business such as a brick and mortar business. And it's so cool because they start to get it. They start to go, wow, this is a pure play free enterprise business. You're giving away the same opportunity that you have. Whereas in a traditional business, the business owner does not give away the same opportunity as what he has because it's not possible. An employee never has the same opportunity as the business owner, ever. And that's why the employees in a traditional business never see a business model, because what's the point? Why would the business owner show them a business model? Hey, let me show you how much money I make off of you. It's just not going to happen. Right? So, and through this business, it's duplicating through other business owners, which is amazing. A winner wants that, and a truly ambitious person, A true entrepreneur wants to be able to have no ceiling. They don't want someone above them dictating what their potential is. They want to be able to find their own potential through an opportunity that does not limit them, and that's grassroots. And so we'll talk about that, and I'll draw out how shopping from the store versus your store, and different people show the plan different ways. Right? This is just what I do, and I like to draw it out, and I like to help them understand that. See, when you shop from the store, that's owned by someone, and that person duplicated through employees. And those employees don't have the same opportunity. When you shop from your own store, you can duplicate through other business owners and give them the same opportunity as you. And when you build a business that has, when you build a business here, and when you build a team that has 50, 60, 70 people in it, you can make anywhere from 60 to 120K, and we'll kind of talk about those numbers as time goes on, and you'll see, kind of the legalities behind how that works and how you can create that income. But today I just want you to understand the concept, and I'll talk about the process we'll take them through. I'll talk about how you've gone, this is, kind of meet and greet 2. You've gone through 2 meet and greets, and it's kind of a precursor to coming to a board plan, which is where you're going to not only see the business, but you're going to see the people. You don't get educated about this business solely. It's not you need to experience this business. This is an experience. Hello? The toughest quandary that all of us face when we go back is the question, how is the function? Come on. You can't even begin to start. And so that's kind of our second meet and greet. We prepare them to get to, the first board plan, whatever that is. Maybe there's a house plan coming up we can plug them into. Maybe it's a worldwide event like a regional or a second look meeting. Maybe it's nothing. So maybe that first board plan is really just us sitting across the table from them and going through the web tour and business overview. And so we'll do that. But typically we have a kind of a setting for them to plug into where we live. And we prepare them for that setting, and we take time to prepare them. Here's what we don't do for Marcy and I. We don't go, okay, here's the board plan. Can you make it? Yeah, I think so. Okay, see you there. That is weak sauce USA. People need weak sauce Canada. I didn't mean that as an insult. That's weak sauce, period.
We'd like to survive getting out of this arena, so.
Okay, can we continue? So we'll take the time to help them. Okay, we'll talk about the date that's coming up, and we'll talk about if it's a house plan with 10 people in it. We've positioned that plan. Hey, stop laughing. We're moving forward now. We positioned that plan as...
It was just such a burn, and you didn't realize it.
Okay, so we'll talk about the next board plan coming up, and we'll talk about the date, and we will talk about them confirming to be that board plan. And usually we explain to them that, listen, we got to double check some things, make sure we can get you a seat. We're capping it at 10 people. It's a small private residence, and so we position it as a good thing that there's going to be 10 people there versus the typical person that's looking for consensus. They want to see that the masses are doing something for their belief, because we're very weak when it comes to faith. We don't have a good faith muscle. Jobs are the reason why, in my opinion, because you show up, you get paid. When you build an asset, you show up, you don't get paid. You show up and you build something, and down the road, you'll reap rewards and there will be fruit. And so we understand that, and so we'll help them, understand that there's 10 people in a room. I've got to, just double check and make sure we can get you a spot in that room. But before we do that, I need to make sure you're 100% clear and you got that evening clear, because it makes no sense for me to make the phone calls I'm going to make until you've got that evening clear. Because if you say you're going to be there and you're not, then there's a seat empty that could have gone to someone else that, who knows, maybe was driving from Saskatoon to Edmonton to get into, that was chomping at the bit to get in a room, with 10 people to learn about a 2 to 5 year plan to freedom. And so that makes sense to them usually, and so then they call us. I have them call me the next day just confirming that they got the night clear, and I explain to them, let me tell you what a commitment means. It means that if something comes up, you tell something, you've got plans. I mean, pending an emergency. You know, I don't want to hear from you calling me up going, oh, I forgot, you know, reruns of Elf are on, and that's more of a priority. You know, so just helping them understand what it means to follow through on a commitment. And so we do that, and then once they call us, I go, okay, give me a day or two, I'll call you back, and I call them back and confirm I have a spot for them. I give them the address, we prepare them, and I tell them, you know, most people will be dressed business. You can wear whatever the heck you want to wear, but, you know, most people will be in a suit and tie. And so we prepare them to, you know, dress to impress and so on and so forth. So they come to the board plan, they see the opportunity, they understand, you know, that the two companies, Amway Corporation, Worldwide, how they function to help us and serve us, both of those companies. And you know, and then they learn, they get educated, they see the kind of people that are building this business. Some give them hope, and well, there's people that will give you hope through maybe they're high-end professionals that you see in a room, and there's people that will give you hope that maybe, you know, this is their shot. And you see, you know, you might see people like that in a room, and so out of that board plan, we will book a follow-up with them and give them the information system that we utilize as a resource for people to go through fully. By the time they're done that process, they go through that fully so that they can get educated on everything about this opportunity and how amazing it is, and everything they need to know about Amway and everything they need to know about Worldwide. And we equip them when we give them that information system, what to go through. For Marcy and I, the resources we want to see them go through from that first board plan to the first follow-up is their upline Diamond Rally, whoever that is in the info system, and the Prosumer Power Book. Everything we put in that information system is on the Worldwide Dream Builder training site. The recommended information system contents. We have so many great resources through Worldwide. Let's use them. Hello? There's so much great information and education, you know, that we are always looking to get better in that area to utilize all those resources that we have. And so we sit down to that follow-up once again. Did they make time to go through the information? When we hand it to them at the end of the board plan, we explain to them explicitly that, you know, when we sit down with someone for that first follow-up, the things we typically ask them is, did they get through the audio? If they're a couple, both of them. Did they get through the book? Both of them, fully. And if they did, awesome. We will continue and continue to get you educated on you know, how awesome this opportunity is. And so we'll sit down and pending they went through that information, we go through that first follow-up with them. And so what that may look like when we sit down with them is to kind of lay out to them, you know, we believe we'll share with them, this is what it took for us to succeed in this business. This was the plan, this was the program. How serious are you about wanting to create that platinum income and beyond? And they usually say, we're very serious. And I go, well, based on you telling me that, let me share with you the program we plugged into to create that income and beyond for us. And we'll go through that with them. Plug it into the Worldwide Dream Builder system. You know, this is what we did. We plugged into that system. That's kind of step one. Step two is learning how to switch your shopping habits, and then also getting that 50 PV of retail. Step three is learning how to duplicate yourself through other business owners, which is where you're going to need a lot of help. You know, a lot of help's going to come from us in that area, and we're willing to help you with that. And our mentors, they came from Calgary to Edmonton about 100 times in 5 years to help us, you know, show us how to you know, build our organization, show us how to kind of prepare people for business ownership throughout that process. And if someone wasn't willing to learn how to think like an entrepreneur, then, you know, they shouldn't be a business owner. You know, they shouldn't receive sponsorship. Reroute them and they can be a great customer. I don't believe we're looking for everybody. If we can help one person in an area through this business that maybe, you know, we couldn't help everyone, that one person can reach out to so many others that we could never even reach out to. You know, and that's the beautiful thing about this business is the ripple effect of it and the duplication of it. And so we'll break that down, and we'll kind of go through what those, you know, what does plugging into Worldwide mean? And we break down core, and we break it into, you know, the kind of incremental time period steps. We'll break down yearly, we'll break down monthly, we'll break down weekly, we'll break down daily. You know, that helped me understand what I needed to do. And the yearly habits of the 4 major functions a year, Marcy and I were non-negotiable with those. For us, you know, we didn't even want to be endorsed into business or receive sponsorship from our mentors unless we got to those functions, unless we proved to them we were worth their time. And so there's 4 a year, and we'll talk about the next one coming up. A lot of the meetings we did the last month or two, guess what we talked about? FED, and how it's a life-changing function, and the impact of that function, and what's going to happen there, and that we talked all about that and said, at some point throughout this process, you're going to want to let us know that you've got that weekend, carved out, because you said you want to create that platinum business and beyond. There's usually one worldwide Dream Builder event a month locally. There's typically, in our area, there's about 2 upline events a month locally, house plans typically. So about 3 things a month that you got to prioritize into your calendar. And we may bring up there might be some red flags that have happened up to that point that we may talk to them about in terms of, depending on their work schedule and if they're working shift work.
Yeah, certainly you attract what you are. So now that Dean and I are parents, a lot of people we sit down with these days are parents. And I know that babysitting can be a real challenge for people. And those of you that are here with your spouse know the power of attending functions together. And if you're going to build this together, it makes such a huge difference when you're there as a couple, because it's impossible to can you imagine trying to bring this back and explain it to your spouse, having them not had experienced this? I mean, how was Saturday night? It was good. Trying to encapsulate all that happened and the whole function. I mean, it's just, you can't do it. And there's something that happens at these major functions, and I'm preaching to the choir, but you're emotionally impacted. It's not about the information. It's about what you feel. It's about the emotions of it. And we just so strongly believe that when couples can be at things together, it's a game changer. And it helps their marriage, it helps their business. And so I help women with babysitting. And I just share my story that when we had Isabel, our daughter, I had to go out and interview a bunch of people I didn't know, because we didn't have family in Edmonton that could watch Isabel. And so I had to interview people. And yes, they were strangers. And I know that's hard for some people. But I just ultimately, trusted my instincts and my gut. I'm just hiring an employee. And the process I went through with that, and I said, how's your sitter list? Do you have access to good childcare? And if they don't, then I'll encourage them to do what I had to do, which is go out there and find some people, interview them, and set up your schedule so that you don't have to use your children as a reason to not be at a meeting. Because I said, I know sometimes things happen. I know sometimes you make that call as a parent, you've got to stay home, but I can't tell you how important it is for Dean and I to be at things together. And I just really encourage you to find childcare. It's not a lot. It's 3-4 nights a month. Is that not worth your freedom and your financial independence? Making that sacrifice, it's worth it.
You guys, just remember, this business does not wreck relationships. It reveals to you your relationships. And you're either going to fix it or you're going to pretend that this wrecked your relationship. This is the only environment I know of that's going to expose to you where you're at, and you're going to fix it through mentorship, or you're not. And I love that about this business, is that it kind of gives you a state of the union on you. Where are you at in all different areas? And then and that'd be a problem if there's no solution provided. And that's where mentorship comes in. And so trying to help people understand that. Isn't it fascinating, the excuses people use to not build something for their future could have been solved from the mentorship they would have received, but they didn't get to receive it because the excuse got to them first. I'll tell you one thing we've learned and adopted into our life is that success does not have sympathy with the righteousness of your reasoning or excuses. Success does not have sympathy with it. It does not say, well, you got this excuse, so that's why you can't make. I mean, look at Jay Barrows. He's here. They had their first baby 5-6 days ago. And there's been greater stories than that. But success doesn't go, well, Jay, you had a baby 5 days ago, so therefore that excuse is up here, so you don't have to be at the function, and you're still going to get the impact from it. I'm going to let you slip through. Unfortunately, success doesn't factor that in. Now, that's the thing about it, is that the entrepreneurial mind understands that, yes, maybe my excuse is valid, it's righteous, it's unmatched, but if I use it, I still won't be at the function. And Marcy and I wouldn't be at this function today if we weren't at the first function that we had a chance to go to. We would not have made it.
So we spend a lot of time talking about the functions. Have you noticed that? And the reason we do that is because we don't think they'll make it if they don't get here. And so that is our priority. We go on to talk about the weekly habits of communication, because we believe, you can't have a partnership in business if there's no communication. And so talking about how, not that there's quotas or maximums or minimums, but if you're not talking to your coach at least once a week, then you're probably not moving forward. The daily habits of listening to a CD, an audio, reading your book, a book from the book list, and being on Kate, clearing your Kate, listening to those communicate messages, which is another just incredible tool that I don't think people are really going to build a big business if they're not on Kate and if they're not using Kate for the tool that it is. We then go on to talk about switching their shopping habits, like Dean mentioned, getting customers, what that looks like, and then the duplication of this business, which is building a team. And we'll go over that. We don't have a lot of time to go much further into that, but we'll cover that. And then the next step in the process is for them to come to another board plan, because we believe they need further education and information.
And any questions they have in that first follow-up, we'll answer them, obviously.
Right.
And the questions we have for them that usually get interspersed throughout what we're talking about. And when we talk about duplication and building a team, I'll ask them, if your 6 best friends that you think have the same mindset as you, if you think they're going to be your initial team, and if they are, great, but if none of them get it, do you understand that's okay? Do you realize you're not dependent on them? Do you realize that your current friends were once strangers and that future friends are current strangers? Do you realize that the friendships you'll build through this business, we have the people that we've met once in our lifetime that are in our organization, it's to me a greater relationship than some people I've known in the past for maybe a decade. Because we're on the same page here. We're moving forward. We have a unified vision. We want to create something great. We think the same way. We have the same paradigm. And a lot of times before this business, our friendships, what the one thing that held you together was? Alcohol. Wow, what a friendship. And how cool is it that this business, you take alcohol out of the equation of most of Marcy's old friends, they wouldn't want to hang out with her. If you call that a friendship, fine. We don't. We call the partnerships in this business that the people we get to serve and mentor, we call that a friendship. We call the relationships with our upline mentors a friendship. That's a friendship that's holistic, not just singular, that you can cut that strand and there's nothing left anymore. So.
Yeah.
And so, ask questions. Let them ask you their questions. Make sure that they feel great as they're moving forward. And then so we move on and they come to another board plan, whatever resource is coming up next, and they come to that, and then we do a second follow-up coming out of that. And so the framework we use is board plans and follow-ups, however long it takes. So that second follow-up, we go through the finances of what it looks like to launch their company, and we share with them what it looks like to launch as a full business owner, the Amway side of things, the worldwide side of things. And, of course, they're separate, but for us, we launched both at the same time. And because we wanted to create that platinum income and beyond as fast as we could. Not that it's about building this thing, in my opinion, super fast. That which grows rapidly withers just as fast. If we can help somebody be excited about the development that they're going to receive, then they don't get mad when they didn't make money in 2 weeks. I don't want people trying to make fast money. To me, that mindset, that's the job mindset. That's the employee mindset. I want them to learn how to fight for something. Go through the fire and brimstone and become somebody great, and that the money's the byproduct. Brad Duncan talks about that all the time. The money's the byproduct. By the time you start to make the money, you're like, I don't really care anymore. The true benefit from this business is who you become along the way. Right? It's the personal development. It's the growth. So we go through with them what the finances look like to launch, which typically they've let us know, I've got the function carved out at this point. They may not have, but usually a lot of people have. They've got the function carved out. We'll ask them when we lay out the finances, do they have the finances to launch? Because we don't want their victory to be the fact that they came up with the finances to launch and then not treat the business, or, not treat the business serious, but coming up with the finances more serious than treating the business. We don't want their victory to be, well, I got to this part of the process, victory. No, the victory is to get an offer, to receive sponsorship, and the victory is to go out and build a company that allows you to be financially independent. And so for Marcy and I, we don't like to, we don't typically want, if they have the finances, great. If they don't, great. I mean, we'll want to help them solution seek to come up with finances if they need help. And once they've let us know they got the function carved out and they're pumped to go, typically it's always on their own volition. They're excited to go. We want them to have ownership of their decisions throughout this process, and that they have the finances to launch. Fantastic. We don't even look to give them sponsorship until they've let us know, typically those two things, because I think we can all agree the true launch of your business is not the launch of your company and the formalities. It's the launching of you, and the function launches you, and that will in turn allow you to launch your company properly. You'll launch your company with the right mindset. And so we go through all that, and sometimes we'll have them go to another board plan, and then we'll do another follow-up. I know for us personally, if we take someone through a process that would be width for us, that we would personally sponsor and mentor, we typically do at least 3 rounds of it. And in that third follow-up, we go through what we call a partnership and what that would look like.
Yeah. So I think the guys have a slide just to really briefly show you what the partnership looks like. Because we want them to really fully understand, okay, if we're going to go in this together, okay, if we're going to partner up in business, this is our commitment to you first and foremost, okay? We are going to give you our time away from other businesses that we have currently that we're investing in. We're going to take time away from our children. We're always together, so it's never time away from one another, but it's time away from our kids. It's time answering your questions on Communicate, our communication system. It's times helping you build your team, modeling to you what it looks like, because we will do this process in width and in depth for the teams that we help build. And so we'll talk about the time that we're going to invest, and then we'll talk about the finances that are required to invest in somebody, which can be gas, flights if it's at a distance, rental cars, hotels. We're going to pay that price to go help you build your team. And so if we're going to make not only that time investment, but that financial investment, we want to be sure that you in turn are doing these steps. And these are the things that we've gone through with them in that first follow-up, which is, again, those daily, weekly, monthly, and annual steps and volume. And so, again, we're going over, okay, daily, this is the program for success. And, again, it's all these steps that you're seeing, it's core. All it is core. We just broke it up kind of in those tangible steps so that people understood what the time commitment is for them. And again, reviewing the functions, asking them, so do you have, to come here, we said, do you have FED carved out? Free Enterprise Days, are you available to come to that? And they say, yeah, we're excited. It's off work and we're, we've paid for a bus, or we're ready to come down, and we'll go, awesome, that's great. And then we'll talk about the volume standards. Again, there are no quotas in this business. You don't have to buy product. We make sure they understand that. But you're a business owner. Why wouldn't you use your own products? It's kind of a no-brainer to us. And so the example that we teach in the business opportunity is the 150 PV first circle. But we'll talk about our experience, and we said, to be honest with you, 150 PV takes care of Marcy's makeup and skincare. We minimally, Dean and I, we minimally are 500 PV first circle. So 115, you could do it in your sleep. I mean, Isabel's 30 PV, for goodness sakes. 150 PV is nothing, and 50 of that is customer volume. You've gone out and gotten a few customers, and we talk about that. And we review all that. We have it all written out for them. And then we say, I want you to take this home. And I want you to sit down. If they are a couple, I say, we want you to discuss this with one another. If they're single, we want you just to really meditate on this. And seriously ask yourselves, are we willing to take the next 2 to 5 years and commit to this and follow through on this? We're not playing around here. If we're going to help you become financially independent, it's going to take a little focus and concentration and effort. And so are you ready to commit to this program, which is not a lot. It's a hobby level commitment in terms of these things. But we said, we want you to think about this. And when you've had a chance to talk it over or sleep on it, we want you to give us a call back tomorrow and tell us that you're ready to commit to that and you're excited about that.
Do you understand what the commitment would be, and are you willing to commit to it? And if there's any questions, ask us the questions before we partner up. Ask us those questions when you call us back. And one thing we also talk about, when it comes to volume, is doing a budget session. We did a budget session with our mentors, and we paid off 40 grand in a year and a half because we learned how to plug up the drain and we learned how to turn on the tap. Plugging up the drain is getting our finances under control, doing a zero-based budget where we assign every dollar we make every month a name. So, because if you do not, from our experience, when we didn't do a budget prior to this business, it's amazing how when you don't tell your money where to go, it leaves. And so our mentors helped us get on track. We paid off 40 grand in a year and a half. And there's people in our organization now where I'm embarrassed to even tell them what we did because their example is like, whoa, we paid off $214,000 in 12 months. I'm like, oh, awesome. And it really is awesome, because they're more disciplined than us, and they might have had a different situation than us as well in terms of their income from their jobs. And so, when they call us the next day, I mean, you know it's been done right when they call you and they're pumped about it. They're excited. It gives you confidence to then want to give them sponsorship and make an offer to them and say, listen, and extend that their way. And it's done incredibly well when they show up to their registration for their business, the formalities of launching their company, and they bring you flowers or chocolates. Not because of you, but you're just like, their mindset is where it needs to be. They realize they've received a gift, so they want to give you a gift.
Yeah. Now, is this foolproof? Is this perfect? Of course not. Nothing is. It's people. It's still a third. You're still going to take people through this process, and you're still going to have people quit. You're still going to have people who maybe aren't who they said they were. But you're really going to eliminate a lot of riffraff through this. And you're going to save yourself a lot of time because it'll become very clear, in the middle of the process by people eliminating themselves through their unaccountability, through their unwillingness to be mentored. It'll become very clear to you that they're not ready for business ownership, and you just saved yourself a lot of frustration and time.
And you try and redirect them to customers.
Yeah.
That's the fit.
Yeah. You try to take their money as customers. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But you're trying, of course, to find the best fit for them, and serve them. We're here to serve people. And so what we're ultimately looking for, and when they say that they're ready to make that commitment, Dean and I will evaluate their process, and we'll go, okay, do we feel that they're ready to buy in? To buy into us, to buy into Worldwide? Because that's what we're looking for. Why would we take our emotional energy and our time and invest it in somebody who isn't ready to receive the teaching? The only time you're frustrated in this business, if you think about it, the only time you're frustrated is when you're trying to help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. It's when you're trying to coach and mentor somebody who's not teachable. That's frustrating. So let's not sponsor those people, hey?
A teachable spirit, you guys, is when you seek out your coach, not when they seek you out.
Right. And so not everyone thinks that way at first. So again, we're trying to teach them how to be coachable. Sometimes people have to learn how to be students of this business. But you can tell if somebody's heart's in the right place, if their spirit's in the right place. And so just really quickly to wrap up, we'll do that registration to get them started, which Dean said is their Amway license and Worldwide. We get them started on these things. This is what we found success in, which is their Worldwide Premier membership, their digital delivery. We get them their Communicate account, have them set up their first message to their up to their Upline Platinum. We like to get them their function ticket if it's available. I'm sure Dream Night tickets are going to go on sale right away. Sometimes there's a lag where tickets aren't available, but we have them that date carved out, or they get their ticket, they reserve their hotel if necessary. And then we have some resources that we inventory personally that we like to sell any business owners so they're started off for success. A fully stocked info system, a Slight Edge book, a Worldwide calendar, a pack of BOVs, and a pack of web tours.
And this is all stuff that was explained to them in the process that they're excited about and have ownership over.
Yes. Then we book what we call a game plan coming out of that. They have some homework to do in between. And at that game plan, I'm going to help them set up their Ditto. for the first of the month, and I'm going to go through the home and the health and beauty catalogs and set up a nice fat ditto for them. And then I'm going to talk about getting customers, how they're going to go about doing that, booking a grand opening if necessary, setting up their website, showing them how to put in customer orders. And then Dean's going to go over core. He's going to review those daily steps again. He's going to, make sure they know how to use Kate and their digital delivery. He's going to talk about their name list, talk about contacting, really simple, basic stuff, just how to put people in front of us so that we can start to model to them how to successfully build a team.
The game plan is an extension of the first follow-up, and the registration, which happens before the game plan, is an extension of the second follow-up.
Right, exactly. And coming out of that, we'll book their first board plan, first couple of board plans, and then their budget session. And then at their budget, we go over their finances and we teach them how to switch their current spending habits, take some of that extra money that's going nowhere, and put that towards their ditto and their personal consumption habits.
And we help them understand our mindset in that. We did not supplement when we saw this business. We did not use skincare. Well, not like I would, but Marcy didn't use skincare, and I extolled her in that. I'm like, hey, you don't need skincare. You look great without it. Before we saw this business, we said, well, guess what we're starting to use? Every business in the world, when you get into business for yourself, you have to buy supplies you never bought before you were in business. In this business, you don't have to for the most part. But if there's things that are profitable that would benefit you on the inside, if you're going to be free on the outside and you have a life worth living, then why wouldn't we want to take care of ourselves on the inside through Nutrilite and on the outside through artistry? It just makes sense to us. So we just said, well, we're going to start buying this stuff because we want to be free, versus going, I don't use this stuff. Well, then work for 40 years. We're not going to work for 40 years. We're going to make changes, and change is difficult, but it's, becomes easier the more you do it. So a lot of people will go, this business, what you're talking about, Dean and Marcy, that's hard work. Yeah.
Yep.
You guys build it right the first time, it lasts a lifetime. Everybody. No one has time to do it right the first time, but they always have time to go back and do it over again. Make the time on the front end so you don't have to make it on the back end. Let's build leaders. Let's have ring 52, ring 53, ring 54, ring 55, and you go be the next Lord of the Ring.
So just some final thoughts and a summation as we wrap up. The process is a framework we use to pull the best out of someone, and it requires leadership. And knowing when to have grace with someone and when to challenge them to a higher standard is an art and not a science. And you cannot make someone a priority if they make you an option. And the analogy I use to describe it is that children are on a need-to-know basis. And as they mature, they are privy to more information and more truth because they can handle it. And I believe it's similar with prospects. They are on a need-to-know basis. And if we give them too much too fast, it's like giving a loaded gun to a 2-year-old. And they can't handle it a lot of the times until they've been prepared with fundamentals to then learn the details. And I don't ever want to put someone in a position to make a 3-second decision, because almost always it will be a fatal decision. And the framework that we use gives us confidence in knowing where we are going next. And it also allows us to teach this to others, but without knowing why we do what we do and what we are looking to accomplish through this process, it just becomes legalism. And, if we can establish a friendship and trust, if we can establish that someone truly has a need for an opportunity and they desire to be mentored in how they make decisions and in learning how to think like an entrepreneur and having an entrepreneurial mindset, and both parties can commit to a partnership that we've seen leads to success. If that can happen, then hallelujah. If not, then perhaps the better fit is as a retail customer, which is equally as great. And so I hope this audio has been beneficial.